Welcome to Lucky Podcast episode number 13. If you're listening into the show here, firstly, a massive shout out to my podcast producer, James Ede, who is in my team, founder of Be Heard, who edits my show, makes it sound even more amazing for you guys when you pop me in your earbuds and you listen to the amazing founder guests that come onto the show and create this content for you guys. So if you're watching this on YouTube, the video does not need to be the same content and audio quality. So it doesn't go through James, it's raw. It's ready with the video of the amazing conversations I'm having, bringing a totally different experience for you, which is why I create and manage both. Now, the purpose of the Wealth Rebels show is twofold, okay? Number one, it's here to redefine wealth. Okay, wealth is way more than money, and I should know. I've been a wealth manager, okay? I've been a derivatives trader. I'm an award-winning, multi-times listed, certified wealth empowerment coach. Like for 20 years, I've been in this industry. I know I don't look it. It looks like I'm a baby. When you meet me, you're like, how does this little blonde girl from Bradford know anything about wealth? Well, I do. Actually, I'm going to drop in the show notes some of my credentials, some of the things that I've studied, so that you can really see that I know what I'm talking about, both on a holistic wealth basis, because I'm really taking the wider health perspective really seriously, but also on a practical basis in terms of the knowledge of the financial sector and the wealth sector, okay? Because I really believe that it's important that when you are learning to master your wealth, you work with someone that knows exactly what they're talking about. So that's number one. We want to really redefine what wealth is. But number two, and this is like at the heart, this is a massive big heart chakra activation for me. I want to shine the spotlight on founders of businesses that embody the wealth formula, right? The wealth formula of well-being, energy, abundance, lifestyle in the now, energy in the now moment, health right now, not when we kick it down the curb and we decide when we're burned out that we're going to really prioritize our health, okay? You do not want to be in burnout, fixing yourself. We want to get ahead. And if you are, then your body is telling you it wants to heal. Let me tell you that. These founders that come onto the show are doing amazing things to do their part of launching solutions, launching impact ventures that will change the vibration of the planet, okay, by making it a better place, whether it's the products that they create or whether it's the services that they offer, right? They are genuine, awesome humans and they need to be celebrated. Okay, and that is exactly what we're doing here. We're going to connect them with you so that you can then create that ripple effect by seeing what they're doing, maybe be inspired to do this for yourself, or maybe work with them or buy their products. And that's what it's all about. So if you're listening to the show, please like, subscribe, follow. It's how we grow and how we keep going, okay? I have a sponsor, FE Cash Calc, who are flipping fantastic, but it's more than this. This is literally my love, my baby, my passion. I dedicate a whole Wednesday to my podcast and my YouTube channel. In fact, YouTube is a daily commitment, but the podcast is a whole day for me. It's what I literally live and breathe. It's my mission to do my part to reverse the global climate crisis in the only way that I know that I can create my impact, by empowering impact ventures and impact founders to raise, go out there and launch those ventures and raise the awareness of what they're doing, and also raise the awareness of an amazing charity, the Global Returns Project. So today's guest, who you're going to hear from, literally embodies the wealth formula. She came into the launch of the show live on the 18th of September, supporting me as I support her. Love in motion right there. This conversation was recorded live over on LinkedIn, and so it's really raw and ready. It's not scripted in any way. Sarah Mannion is my friend from Braunton, North Devon. She literally lives down the road from me, who I got to know as I dived really deep into the love of yin energy. When I realized that in order to create balance in my life, I needed to start sleeping. Like, man, my sleep was totally messed up when I left my marriage earlier this year in March. When I physically left, it was so stressful, and the pressure of waking up at 3 a.m. was really taking its toll. And so I started practicing Yoga Nidra with Sarah. Sarah helped me literally get a whole night's sleep in 30 minutes. And it takes you into a different brainwave. I believe it's like the theta brainwaves, moving out of alpha and beta into theta brainwaves, where we can start to heal our body. Okay, and this is really, really important. I mean, this is like such a kind of a new part of research for science that nerds me out completely, that we're just diving into this power of going into these brainwaves and the changes that it can make on our bodies. So, oh my gosh, I can't wait for you to hear this conversation with Sarah. It's going to be a powerful chat. You need to have balance. Yes, we want to be in that yang energy of the doing, the creating, but we also want to be in the yin. It's meant to be 50-50, the yin and the yang, the ebb and the flow. In the healing state, in the creative space, if we are to sustain and expand our wealth, because we don't want to squish your wealth in any way. Wealth is an abundance. It's an infinite abundance in the universe. But we want to sustain our wealth and then allow it to expand in the way that it's meant to expand without creating that burnout and any health issues. Because really you can have it all. We're just told that we can't, because we're not told how to look after our bodies. Change your energy, aka get some sleep. Yoga Nidra will do that for you. Change your wealth, change your life. I hope you enjoy this conversation. Namaste.
Recording stopped.
And that's a wrap. You will know that this year has been really challenging for me in my personal life. My friends certainly know that. And I've been really focused on my own energy. So who I keep in my energy circle is really sacred to me. And one thing that we need to build is energy. And one of the big things that we need to do is to focus on sleep. I think we'll talk a little bit about sleep today. And so Sarah said, when I was really struggling with my energy, she was like, you need to do Yoga Nidra. I think you said 30 minutes of Yoga Nidra is as restful as a night's sleep. And I was like, flipping need this. Can I have one of these meditations? I'll pay you for this. And I keep it in my phone. And I then have you in my earbuds when I go to sleep. And it's been really, really essential to parts of my energy healing and building that up. Your voice is gorgeous. You're going to hear it today, but certainly when you go into that meditative Sarah Mannion's, Yoga Nidra voice, it's like, oh, and then I drift off to sleep and I already have this beautiful rest before I even then go to sleep. Sometimes I have fallen asleep, and it's that permission to your body knows exactly what you need in that moment. So I just can't wait to dive into this. Let's dive into the story of you. What brought you to North Devon, leaving your life behind? I want you to, your career, you were a solicitor before, and completely pivoting, stepping back into something so different. What brought you into this world of yoga and breath work?
Yeah, well, I think it's probably similar to what you've touched on, what you've experienced yourself this year. It really is for me, it was really starting to focus on my own energy, really. And that started, it's probably about 10 years ago. Like you say, I was a solicitor, so kind of, did that straight to uni from school, straight into a job afterwards. And there wasn't much let up, I suppose. And that was my career for quite a long time. Went into the law, was a solicitor, and really loved it for quite a long time. And it wasn't until, as I say, around 10 years ago when I started really, I suppose, more intentionally addressing some health stuff that I was dealing with, and started to recognize that maybe the way I was living wasn't necessarily supportive of those things and wasn't helping the symptoms that I was experiencing. And it was a long process, still in it. I don't know if we ever leave, but it started with, really looking at, I suppose, my physical health, and starting to look at different ways that I could, other healing modalities, I suppose, that helped me. It started with acupuncture, actually, and acupuncture, and it's such a whole body, mind body approach, looking at the energy system. So that was probably my first introduction to it, and made me think about all the different aspects that were impacting me. So over the years, tried lots of different things, loads of different therapists that were amazing for me. But what I realized eventually, and it took quite a long time, I think probably a bit of a slow learner, but actually it was what I was doing for myself, and realizing that I had to take responsibility for myself and how I was feeling, physically, energetically, everything, emotionally. And all of these people were helping me, but I was almost kind of outsourcing that to them. And it was more, it was natural ways of healing, but I was still asking these people to fix me, I suppose, rather than coming back to myself and really starting to look at what I needed to support myself. So I guess it really was the journey back to myself. And as I say, there's different layers, aren't they? It just keeps going. But I know you had Lauren on before, so looking at all those different aspects of well-being, that's very much part of it. And as I say, it started with the physical stuff, but then starting to look at, well, what was affecting me emotionally and mentally, where was the stress coming from? And I was in a stressful environment, but actually there was a lot of stuff, my patterns, my kind of conditioning. And even after I left that stuff doesn't change unless you do start to do the work to unpick it and unravel that. And that's part of the energy work for me. And, as I was going through that process, as I say, I moved into the health and well-being kind of space. It started off with a yin yoga training. So learning a bit of stillness and learning to really get in touch with my body. And that led to other stuff around yin yoga, and then eventually a health and well-being coaching training, which for me, I was drawn to that because, as I say, I had a lot of different people help me, but I had to help myself as well. And the coaching side of things was helping people to help themselves. And I think a lot of us aren't taught how to do that as we grow up, and in the society that we have now, it's not always conducive to doing the things that really support us. We don't learn them. It's not easy necessarily for us to do. So me learning all of that for myself and starting to implementing all of that has led me to doing this, and including the move. It's beautiful down here. Spent a lot of time down here. Nature is just such a key part. And, I lived in Bristol before, beautiful space around Bristol. But there's something about the sea for me. The sea is just so healing. And, creating that space inside myself, I only had that before when I was near the sea. And now, being here, living here, it's there, and is helping me to create that more in other aspects of life as well.
Yeah, there's something about getting into the sea. When we got into the sea, a little mini story, we were doing our surfing lesson 2 weeks ago, and it was windy and raining.
It was just a bit windy.
We were like phoning each other up from Braunton going, do we really want to go? And Toby was already there. So I was like, Toby's already there, like we've got to go. And apparently it wasn't that bad, and we thought it was really bad. And we got down there, I couldn't even see. There's so much water in my face. It
was like little pins hitting your face, wasn't it? The water was so cold in the rain.
Yeah, getting in the sea was incredible because the sea was so warm as well, right? It was beautiful. And then there was no one else in there. And we caught all these beautiful waves. And we got it to be, to experience that with Toby guiding us. And you then forgot everything. And it was like, I just was like, I'm so grateful. I'm so glad that I had that kind of anchor of like not wanting to let Toby down, really, that then meant that I didn't let myself down.
Yeah, I mean, accountability is big actually, isn't it? And when we're learning these things, I mean, that's part of the coaching side for me, really. I have committing to other people is so helpful for me. So, it helps build these habits, doesn't it? And get into these
Right.
things that we know are good for us, but the mind tells stories, oh, it's cold, it's windy. Do we have to do this
I
today?
can't surf. I'll never catch a wave. I
Mm,
can't do this. And by doing it together, and then with someone that was one thing that I've loved about doing this experience with you, I know this is going on off in a little bit of a tangent here, but learning to surf, to get into the sea, to get into the habit of being really fully present and doing something super fun, having you to share that experience with has been incredible. And then having somebody like Toby, I found him like he literally would swim over on his board after we'd done a wave. And my expectation was he's going to tell me what I need to do better. I've not, it looked really bad. And he'd come over and he'd go, yeah, man, high five. That was fantastic. More of that, more of that. Like, do more of this. Did you see how you did this? Like, did you see how you leaned? And it was like, okay, more of that. Right. I'm going back.
yeah.
How
Yeah.
inspiring is of that? We don't teach people to have fun learning something new. We teach people in a really disempowering way most of the time. And that was like really empowering. And what you've said, really resonated with me, because this was something I heard someone saying to me today on a different coaching. I had a little mini coaching call that I listened back to this morning, was we're not here to heal anybody else. I think the old world of healing, we're in a new world of sovereignty today. Healers aren't here to fix you. You need to take ownership and responsibility of your own journey. We can provide tools. We can facilitate that safe space and hold that space. And that's what's so beautiful about coaching.
Mm, mm. And I think exploring as well the stuff that might prevent you from doing that. So the obstacles, and it might be the stories, it might be the judgments. But
Yeah.
for me personally, and from my perspective with what I've been exploring, it's really, the deep self-love. Do I value myself enough to be doing all of this for myself or being this way? It's not all about doing, is it? It's, do I value myself enough to create this for myself? Because, again, it's just the way we've been brought up for generations. It's doing for other people, isn't it? And actually putting yourself first is so alien and can feel just
Yeah.
really hard to start with.
Yeah, we are shamed for it. There's a lot of shame in society when people are seen to be, having me time. Are you having me time again? Why are you making it so negative? And for a start, I never said it was me time. I'm going to the sauna, and I'm going to go and have a sauna because I really value the heat and it's really important to my health and well-being. And a lot of the time we don't even have to answer other people's views, actually, when we can learn to like let it go.
Yeah,
Go,
yeah.
thank
But
you.
also it comes up in yourself. I mean, I've noticed it in myself. I say that to myself, I have to
Yeah,
justify the things to myself. So starting to, change the narrative as well and change those stories to something more empowering. And, you
yeah.
know, that all of that stuff drains our energy, doesn't it? All of
It
that.
does.
If we're kind of battling against ourselves, potentially having to justify ourselves or our choices to ourselves, that's an energy drain in itself.
It's 100%, because your vibration's going down. It's super negative, it's fear
Mm,
based, and it's going to pull you down. One thing that you talked then about is knowing your obstacles.
mm.
We avoid the obstacles. We actually avoid even bringing them up in the first place. Like, how do you help people to own obstacles and not avoid them, bring them to the surface so they can be
Yeah,
released and
yeah. Well, the first step is awareness, isn't it? It's recognizing what they even are and where, not necessarily even where they come from, actually, but I mean, if something's there, it's there. And then
there.
what is going on around that? So is it something that can be changed? Do we have any control over it?
Mhm.
And if yes, then maybe there are some changes to make. I think a lot of the time, sometimes we create our own obstacles, or we've put stories around something that make them seem kind of unmovable. So actually looking at, I suppose, the response to all of that, what am I telling myself around that, and how is that helping me or not? More often the case, how is it hindering me getting to where I want to go? So just building that awareness and potentially changing the story around it. Where am I judging it? Where is the resistance to it? And is there a different choice? And it's going to be different for everybody. So just looking at the different, I think it comes down to choice. We've got a choice about, everything really, how we respond to something. I just read in something yesterday, the impact of stress, that it has on our health, on our being. It's not from the event itself. It's not from the thing that we think is in our way. It's from our response to it. So how can we change that, or soften around that, and just allow other opportunities to arise? What other choices are there? So just exploring all of that really. And I think you need the space to do that. And I think so often, myself included, even now, I will quite often choose to do something else than give myself space, a bit of stillness to actually consider something and, make a different choice. For me, I need that space, the stillness. And that means like actually physically sitting in stillness a lot of the time, and just giving it my attention to allow the other opportunities, other options, a different way of thinking, different perspectives to come up. So I suppose in terms of helping other people, it's supporting them to do that. It's holding the space for them to do that and helping them change perspectives or look at things in a different way.
Yeah, holding the space through a yin practice.
Yeah.
I'd love to talk a little bit about yin. I'm just make sure because the way that the yin works, I find it fascinating, and I'd love you to share some more about that. Before we move on to the space, the stillness, and the yin aspect of what it is that you do, you talked about self-love. I've just been on a retreat this last week, as you know, to Lisbon, and self-love. We think we know what self-love is. Self-love is not going and buying something to pamper yourself and rub yourself in cream, or going and having a massage or a spa day, or all of these things that we think self-love is. I just really, really realize so much of what self-love is, and I'd love to know what self-love is to you. But one of the things that I learned was, and I shared this kind of thing with Lauren about the peacock, and how we focus so much on the peacock. Looks at its feet, it doesn't see its beauty. So it doesn't see all the beauty, all of the beautiful things about ourselves. We focus on the negative. And one of the things that I was taught at this retreat was loving every part of myself, and taking the space to, when I put my cream on, to really nourish my body and talk to myself and see myself, look at my own eyes. Don't wait for somebody else to go, "Oh, you look really nice today. Oh, your eyes are shining." How often do you sit in front of the mirror when you put your cream on and go, "My eyes are looking really beautiful today," or "Okay, wrist, picking on my wrist, you might have a funny tan mark, but you support me in everything that I do." Self-love, even from the way that you apply and take time. Don't rush putting your cream on. Some people don't even put cream on the bodies every day. It's something that I've always done. I've always used like coconut oil because I won't put chemicals on my body anymore. That's self-love. It's respecting your body enough to not treat it in a way that I wouldn't want someone else to be treated. You use when you call out, when you realize that you've just called yourself stupid. You cool. I wouldn't call you stupid, Sarah. So why do I call myself stupid when I accidentally had a crash in the car recently? I knocked over a wall at my friend's house. Yes. Who then proceeded to share the video to me a few times. And I sat there and I was like, Yeah, I did that. Not call myself any names in that moment.
Mm.
That's self-love. It is so about awareness and having that attention to yourself, not waiting for somebody else to give you love. It's really
Mm.
powerful. So what
Especially the parts that maybe you don't like so much, the maybe qualities that you see in yourself that previously you've beaten yourself up about, actually, you know, going beyond acceptance. It's not just accepting those, is it? It's actually
really
loving
loving it.
yourself for
100%.
those things as well as everything else. And just going back to your moisturizing example,
Yeah.
actually receiving the pleasure from that as well. Like, are you
Yes.
actually taking in the scent of what, the moisturizer that you're using and how it feels on your skin, and just learning how that sensation, the pleasure of it. And pleasure, I think, allowing yourself to receive pleasure in all the ways that life can bring is a big part of self-love as well. Mm.
Yes. Yes, 100%. Because, pleasure and joy should be in every moment. It doesn't have to be just when something big happens. It's in the small micro moments of when you put your cream on, you can smell it and it just feels amazing. And you think, I'm doing this for myself. It's really, really, really powerful. You know, loving all parts of you. Since I've had children, yeah, I feel a bit weird about my boobies. I'm going to put it out there. My boobies aren't the same as they were when I, breastfed 2 children. And one of the songs that we didn't play it. It was very spiritual week in Lisbon. Was my milkshake brings all the joy, all the boys to the yard.
Yeah, the
Never
police song.
this is
Yeah.
creation. It's
Yeah.
this, and we have so much shame about breasts and boobies.
Mm.
They're not the right shape and the nipples are too big. No matter what age we're at, these
Mm.
things fill us with like this really critical space. And realizing that this is an extension of your heart actually here.
Yeah.
And the more that you can love all parts of you, perfectly imperfect, because the body is never going to be this perfect vessel. It's a human body. You're going to have wrinkles as you get older. Why are we trying to not just fully be in our bodies and love our bodies for the amazing fact that it's given us life? And
Yeah.
that is for me is self-love. I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you touched on this, but recognizing ourselves as, we are nature, aren't we? You recognize, it's easy to recognize the beauty in nature, but seeing ourselves as part of that.
Mhm.
And one tree doesn't look the same as another tree, but that tree doesn't care, does it? The tree is the tree. And
Yeah.
if we can put our attention in a more loving way on ourselves, it just makes everything, well, we have more energy, don't we have more energy if we build ourselves up with that kind of mindset, and that kind of attention every day builds our our energy to be not only our vibration and the frequency we're putting out there, but our actual energy to show up and do what we want to be doing in the world.
And realize how much goes into being here.
Mm.
On the retreat, Meher, who just brought this to life for me so well, said, think about the tomato on your plate. What's gone into that tomato being there, from the person that planted that seed, to the water that nourished it, to the soil, to the nutrients into the soil, the microorganisms, the sunlight, the farm, then the shipping. It's just a tomato. There's thousands of things that go into everything, from energy to all of the energy that's gone into that part being there. Apply that to yourself. How amazing is it that we are even here?
Mm. And all
That
the
is,
things that everyone would have gone through, everyone's been through all sorts of stuff, and it is
yeah,
quite incredible. We're so resilient, and it's really, really beautiful. Yeah.
it is really beautiful. It is really beautiful. Every single human, every single animal, every single part of nature and part of the planet, part of the universe is really special. we can't exist without each other. We're not separate from each other. And it comes back to that sense of self, because actually, in order for everything to coexist, we have to exist in our full vibration. So it's not selfish to focus on self. And also, a big part of being, I really feel like this whole self-love, that a big part of the energy aspect of being is finding joy and pleasure in this childlike way.
Yes.
Not feeling that we can't have joy and be a big kid. We're taught to be boring. How do you find that childlike? You talk about back the onions and layers of your onion. How do you do that for yourself?
The childlike kind of nature. I mean, that's something that's really come up for me a lot recently, actually. And I love Zach Bush and all of his work and the way he speaks. And he just said something so profound to me, which I'm not going to be able to articulate anywhere near as well as he is. But that recognition that we are part of nature, and waking up every day with that childlike curiosity that a 3-year-old has. And you can see it in your daughter. That day we were on the beach and she's just rolling around in the wet sand,
Yes.
Beautiful. They're not thinking about what's going to happen or worrying about what's going to happen down the line, but just what is going to bring me pleasure now, and what I'm curious about, what do I want to learn about, and just seeing, as you've just explained, how amazing everything actually is just the way it is. So, trying to, as best that we can, or best that I can, have that curiosity in the, think about what would my little 3-year-old, 4-year-old self have done? All of these amazing things around us. We ask questions all the time, don't we, as children? And we maybe lose a bit, like you say, we're taught to be boring and responsible, and doesn't necessarily incorporate all of that curiosity about the beauty of nature and the fact that we are part of it. So yeah, for me at the moment, just exploring, well, how can I be more curious about all of that, and what would the more playful side of me do in this situation? So the patterns are deep, responses to things, it I can judge something or respond to something in a way that maybe I don't want to respond in that particular way. But most of the time I've got to a point where I can see that, but then choosing to do something different in a more playful way. And actually, physically bringing in more play, the surfing, the dancing, the other thing, starting to, the crafty things that I used to love to do as a kid, I've in recent years started to do more of that stuff. I volunteer at the farm, which for me is, a playful experience, learning about, where the tomato comes from, being able to see that happen and learn about that and just be in that environment is really helps me to stay in that curious mindset.
I love that. You literally, I was thinking about the farm, because the fact that you give your mornings up on a Monday and you go and volunteer at a local farm near Bideford, and you then get to take some of the produce away, which I've tasted and had the beautiful experience before we went to our ecstatic dance evening. And that is just so lovely that you do that. The pleasure that you get when you're in active service, and then the energetic exchange that they are so grateful you're helping them by giving you a different form of currency in the food that you've helped to nurture. How does that make you feel?
I think it encompasses, to me, really, your whole ethos behind, your podcast, wealth, all of those different elements, what each of those letters stand for. It's all of those things, it's joyful for me. I absolutely love it. It brings me a lot of joy, but I can feel it supporting my well-being and my health, and it increases my energy. I had a really quite full week a couple of weeks ago, and my mum said to me, "Oh, are you going to give the farm a miss on Monday then, because you're so tired?" And I was like, "No, the farm is going to give me energy. I need to be outside. I want to do that. It's going to really help." So all of these different aspects of wealth, I mean, for me, an experience like that, I mean, that is what wealth means to me, really. It is that element of contribution and energy exchange and, you know, connection with people, connection with the people there, and nature, and just the whole experience. It's fun. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. And being around people that are, I think when you're around people that you resonate with, that makes a big difference, because they're obviously, when you go there, you're around like-minded people that are in the same vibration as you, that really care about the things that you care about. Just that day on that beach, it was the funniest thing. Oh, it'll be fine. We'll just pop to the beach. I've got clients, and in the afternoon. And then literally Rose just was covered in sand. She was eating it. It was in every part of her. It was hilarious. It was just the funniest thing. It was just so funny and fun. And it was like she had a layer of dirt all over her from the sand, because the sand at Saunton Sands, it sounds really amazing. It's actually quite dirty, I think. Oh, it's like yellow sand, isn't it? It's
kind of brown sand when it's wet, isn't it? Yeah.
It's kind of brown. The beach itself at Saunton is the most breathtaking beach, I think, in the world. I don't think I'm biased, but spending that time with you and Harry and Rose on the beach was one of those moments where you're like, yeah, this is what it's all about. Like, just really just letting go and living life from a completely childlike perspective. One of the things that came up as you were talking then, that I really that comes back to me a lot, is that when we are trying to be playful, we sometimes think we have to be doing something, or we go and, if we're bored, then we'll just go and put the TV on. Every morning, the first thing that Rose asks me for is, can I watch telly? Can I watch TV on your iPhone? And I have to admit, that's probably a habit that I did create when I was going through what I've been through. I just give her my phone for a bit whilst I can just get on with things. And now it's a hard no. When you are bored and you go into stillness and you're bored, your mind will find creative ways to start finding some entertainment and joy. That's when your mind comes alive, and then you start playing, really playing. And the kids, I found them this morning when I said no, and I was like, I went in and I was doing my yoga practice, and I could hear that they were up to something. They started doing some make-believe games. Harry and Rose, they're 3 and 6, playing in their bedroom. I don't know what they were doing, but I was quite finding a lot of joy and pleasure just hearing the conversations that their make-believe life was happening. Rose's unicorns that live in the shed, Harry's they just create things and make things up. It's just amazing, that they find this. When I resist the easy option of thinking that I can just put them on the phone, the playfulness that comes out, and then releasing the fact that, okay, it doesn't matter if they make a mess. I can hoover it up, or I can tidy it. It really doesn't matter. Why do we get so uptight about mess and, the impact of play? It's really where the joy comes from. And I see that all the time. This morning, Harry got up really early, because I got up super early because I had to get ready for today. So I got up at 5 a.m. He got up at 6 a.m. just as I was about to start my yoga practice. And he had his telescope in his hand, and he was like, "Mummy, just seen a planet. I've just seen an actual planet." I was like, "Amazing." So I'm doing my downward dog. That's amazing, Harry. That is absolutely incredible. Can you go and find me some more planets? I'm nurturing his playfulness with his. It's not a planet. Clearly, you can't see. Well, you can see some planets, but I don't believe he didn't see it. But, nurturing his curiosity to go and see what he sees, not what I see, what he sees. Who's to say that what he sees isn't a planet? right? Because we only
Absolutely.
see a tomato because that's what we've been told that it is,
Mm.
right?
Yeah. I think that's what Eckhart Tolle talks about, doesn't he? The labeling of everything. Like, I think I heard him talk about, can you be with a tree, but not call it a tree? Don't label it a tree. Just be with the essence of that is in front of you. And yeah, children are just so good at that, and creating things and having that the imagination, the playfulness, and I think we can create that for ourselves again, can't we? It just takes a bit of attention, a bit of intention.
Everything is living as well. I had this conversation with Harry. He was like, oh, I can't remember what he was saying, something about a tree not being living. And I was like, it is living. It takes water, it absorbs things, it moves things, it transforms, carbon dioxide into oxygen. It enables us to breathe because it breathes. It is living.
Mm.
Everything is living. Everything that has a vibration is living. The table that now is on my, people think that objects aren't living. If it's there's energy, there's vibration, everything has particles and matter. It's living, and it's respecting everything and everything in that way. I know we've gone off on a totally different tangent here, but this is energy for me. And
Mm.
we really, really love everything that's around us. It's really transformative. So let's come to the yin aspect and to the stillness and the magic of being still through yin, the practice of yin. Talk me a little bit about what would we experience with a yin session with you? What's the journey there?
Yeah, well, yin yoga itself is it's quite a still practice. So, if you're used to doing kind of a more flowy type of yoga, it's quite different. You kind of hold shapes, hold poses for 3 to 5 minutes, maybe longer, but in a kind of class environment, generally 3 to 5 minutes. And it's getting still. So finding that stillness is part of it. And then yin yoga works on the kind of the meridian system in a similar way, what acupuncture is based on, obviously in a completely different way, but it's about the energy flow through the body and supporting the good movement of energy by going into the soft tissues, so tendons and the fascial network in particular. And you need to give those parts of the body time, which is why you stay in those kind of poses for a longer time. You have to give it time to kind of release and to soften and to have that effect. So the stillness and the time are big parts of it, to allow kind of physically it feels like a really lovely deep stretch, but actually supporting the good movement of energy through the body. And it was so transformative for me because I didn't know how to be still before. So it was going to those kind of classes and just noticing how difficult I found it, but practicing that and learning how to be still and be with myself. I think that's a big part of it. As you say, when you're bored, other things come up, but actually it's really hard to have nothing to do, and potentially nothing to focus on. So starting to bring the focus back into the body, that was a big thing for me, and starting to notice different parts of my body and how that practice affected different parts of my body, and thereby my energy as well. So that's why I love yin yoga. And I suppose the yoga nidra was an extension of that for me, in that that's super still. I mean, you lie down, that practice, you lie down for the duration. It's kind of a guided meditation almost. It loosely translates to yogic sleep. It's based in kind of yogic philosophy and yogic traditions. It's essentially taking you through different energy systems, I suppose, in the body, your physical body, your breath, the feelings and sensations, and visualization as well. And just taking you, the intention is, into deep relaxation. So really kind of nourishing, restorative rest that we don't get unless we do that. And sleep is part of it, but actually the restorative effect of that deep rest when we're not asleep, when we're still conscious. You know, our brain waves with Yoga Nidra, there's been loads of research on Yoga Nidra and the, you know, positive effects on different aspects of, you know, physical health, mental health. But the brain waves are similar to that in different stages of sleep. But it's that restorative effect for me. And, you know, the deep rest and intentional deep rest, and just the gift of giving yourself that, I think is really powerful. And I just love the different aspects, you know, guiding through the body and then using the breath and the visualization as well. It taps into all of those things really that you've mentioned. The visual aspects is quite creative, isn't it? And just nourishing with the breath. And I think just the act of giving yourself that attention is so nourishing as well.
100%. I think whenever I've practiced yin, you know, it's a mental challenge, because it isn't just easy yoga. It's really challenging because you go into poses that are going to challenge you, and you breathe into it and you hold it, because sometimes it's easier to flow because you're not holding it for very long. You're flowing, you're having a bit of a workout, your heart rate's up, you're moving, you're creating heat and energy in a different way. With yin, you're actually challenging yourself in a different way. You're going inward to build resilience that you can stay. Your mind's going, I need to get out of this now. You know, like the swan or the pigeon pose, right? Where you go really deep into those hips and you sit in that and you breathe. Or, you know, different people will have different parts of them that are not moving good. You know, some people can put their hands in certain places. Some people can move their hips. Some people can't. Some people are really great at, you know, holding a balance, or, you know, holding themselves in bridge. Whatever the position is, different parts will be more challenging, but it's moving through that practice in that full presence of the body, because it then takes you into the body and out of your mind, and then you channel that breath, and it's really, really, really powerful. But I always remember someone saying to me that the yang, which is the movement energy, it's the more doing, the flowing, the masculine, whereas yin is the moon energy, it's the feminine, it's the breath, it's the stillness. The yang exists for the yin, to allow the yin to come into stillness, because it's really hard to do a yin experience, from my experience, when your brain is all over the place and you have so much energy. So you can shift the energy, learn to come into meditation through the yang, because you have the shavasana at the end of hatha flow, for example, or a vinyasa, you know, really super challenging yoga, to build in your practice and your flexibility, so that then you can do the yin. Amazingly.
Yeah, absolutely. There's I can't remember the quote properly. It was in a book that I'm reading. It's about the contradiction is that movement requires to be maintained for it to flow. So like the banks of a river, isn't it? The water to flow needs that kind of structure to hold it. And I think that's what you said. You need the kind of more masculine yang support to be able to allow the softness, the flow, the more receptive energy of the yin, or the, I suppose, more feminine energy.
Yeah, the feminine thrives and flows and creates when she's got that structure and support from the masculine. And that's why, you know, we need to coexist in beautiful harmony. We all have, and Lauren touched on this in her session, you know, we're all 50% masculine and 50% feminine within our being. Yes, we have a sex, we've come here and we are, you know, male or female in our bodies, but fundamentally we all have to harness that 50% yin and yang, we really need to nurture our masculine and our feminine energy to come into inner harmony.
Mm,
When we come
mm.
in inner harmony, then we can connect again with our divine partners
Yeah, yeah.
real in real life, to come into that beautiful flow with, you know, with a masculine if you're a feminine, or with the feminine
Mm,
if you're
mm.
a masculine, whatever way we co-create. We
Yeah.
co-create life and experiences. You know, it's incredible how we can exist and co-create this whole experience of life when we are in balance. And we need our
Mm.
energy to be in balance and to flow in order for that to happen.
Yeah, and that's the journey, really, isn't it? It's finding that balance. Don't know if we ever really achieve it, but that's what we're going for.
It takes
And
practice.
yeah, it is a practice. I think that's why all of these things are called practices, aren't they? Because it does
Yeah,
not happen overnight. You can't,
no,
you can't do this once and that's it. You're there. It's a constant thing that, for me, these practices are, it's to practice doing it in these more, I suppose, more structured environments or guided environments, so that then it can flow into how you show up, how you are every day, how you be every day in
yeah.
life
It
generally.
changes your whole
Mm,
beingness, right? It does. It
mm,
changes your whole beingness when you start to practice and you start. I feel like my language is different. You know, I have mantras now that I'm learning, which is a different language, the yogic language. And now I speak it. I'm not learning French. I'm learning spirituality language, the language of the gods, the language of divine and the universe. It's a beautiful language, like the oms and Ananda. I'm learning all of this stuff. I'm still not quite there yet. I forget all of it, but it's so beautiful. And I listened to sometimes when I listen to songs now, I don't listen to half the nonsense on the radio. I listen to a beautiful, like, yogic chant and
mm,
the music, and it takes me to a different place of being. And that's what I listen to in my car. You don't have to just do these things when you're in the yoga room. You
mm.
can bring this into your life and, like, literally go through life in a meditation. You know, your meditation can become your life, and it's so powerful. I just love the fact that you said, I wrote that one of the first things that you said, that this is a journey. You know, when you wake up and you realize that, you know, you are this amazing energetic being, you know, you are a human being having this beautiful energetic experience, and we're really, you know, you have this amazing body that we need to look after and have sovereignty over, take responsibility for. You're never going to be the same.
Mm.
You're not going to go back to how you were before. You can't just suddenly take
Can't.
the blue pill like in the Matrix, right? You are awake. Your life has changed forever, but it's a journey, right?
Mm.
Talk me through
Yeah.
a bit more about how how you see your journey carrying on and evolving. You know, what is your focus next for you?
I think uh I think it's exploring the what it means for me to live in a more heart-led way, and both personally and in work as well. And a lot of my journey has been about noticing the narratives and coming out of my head. The mind is so powerful, isn't it? And the patterns are, for decades are there. So coming out of the mind and into the body, and into the heart, really, and letting go of the shoulds, I think. A lot of For me, there are a lot of shoulds: what I should be doing, how this should be looking, should, and recognizing that, but then giving myself the space again to come away from that and come into the heart and actually listen to what it is that I need, or what want, actually. What do I actually want? It's not about should. What do I want to be doing? And it can you can feel quite scattered, or recognize that think energy scattered, for all sorts of reasons. So really just coming back to that wholeness and acting from that place. So I think all the stuff that we've talked about comes into that, the playfulness, the childlikeness, and in terms of, you know, what I'm focusing on work-wise, it's supporting people to do that for themselves.
Yeah.
And create the space for themselves to do it, and actually creating the space to do that is the first step, and then building the awareness, and then looking at where the focus is on all those different things that impact our energy and our health and our well-being, but creating the space first and foremost.
100%. Space, it comes back to space, creating space in your life to do it, creating the space physically for people to come together and hold in space. It's really, really empowering. What you just said there, I think this is a really beautiful place to kind of finish. We're at 10-2 now, and is when you are deciding from the mind is a fear-based. It's not going to make, we don't want to be making decisions from the mind. Drop into your heart. If you have a decision to make and you want to choose, if your heart and your gut are like, yeah, man, dropping into your heart. What did your heart really want? What do you love? What's going to set you on fire right now? That's the decision you need to do. If your mind is telling you not to do it, your mind's trying to keep you safe. It's coming from a place of fear, lack, old beliefs. Don't, do it anyway, and trust that your heart knows. Your heart knows what's right for you. Yes, it's going to be facing fears. Be fearless. Do it anyway. If you fail, you've learned a lesson.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Not taking those chances on what your heart desires. Right?
You've got to listen first, right? You've got to actually go in there and listen to know what it desires. Yeah. And that's where for me all of those practices come in, and looking after our energy in all those different ways facilitates that, I think.
Oh, my love. One final little question as I bid you farewell on your beautiful day in North Devon, and I might have a little break here. Is this, what does wealth mean to you?
I think wealth, I always thought going into the health and well-being world, health is wealth is health. But, health means, it comes from wholeness or whole. That's the kind of etymology of health, I suppose. And it's that sense of, being able to come back to myself and really hear my heart, what we've just talked about. And then to have the energy, whether that's, emotional energy, the probably resources and trust in myself, and just trust generally to say yes to that and really show up for myself, I suppose. So that wholeness and all of the things that you're talking about today, I think supporting yourself in all of those ways, that creates that wholeness. And I think that's wealth for me, certainly now.
It's the word of the day, wholeness. Lauren said wholeness.
Oh, wow.
How profound is that? It's like the whole wholeness, and knowing that you're complete, and then having the energy to support that. Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you, Sarah Mannion.
Thank you.
Being whole and complete in my world. It's been a pleasure to have you on today. Couldn't have thought of anyone better. Thank you so much.
Thank you.